Superman and the Authority, issue 1. Grant Morrison and Mikhail Janine on the art. That's the thing now. Mikhail Janine, I've decided that's how I'm pronouncing his
I
name.
really hope that someone hasn't clicked on like the YouTube cut-up version of this book as the first thing they've ever watched from us. We do know that's not how it's said. Please don't let that turn you away.
You're right. I realised my mistake. It's not Mikhail Janine. It's Michael and Janine. It's a pair. It's a couple. It's a duo. It's an art duo. Well, that's some humor to the proceedings, all right.
Yeah, we need it after this book. This was, oof.
Superman the Authority.
This is so obviously we knew this was a holdover from 5G. Like behind the scenes, we'd heard about this a long time ago, and it was in that rumblings. Yanin was even sharing mock-ups last week of what designs Superman was going to be, and some of them looked significantly older, like grayer hair, for example.
Yeah.
I feel like this doesn't fit with continuity in a lot of ways, even though it's telling me.
You mean the part where it's in the 60s and Superman's talking to JFK? Yeah. You mean that?
Yeah, there's like some throwaway lines that maybe implies there's some random time travel that was going on with Supes.
Maybe,
points.
yeah.
But I still don't understand all the stuff in the now, which it says now specifically, not a specific time.
Mm-hmm.
But there's all this like implications that Superman's not been around for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like,
well, not just Superman, but superheroes in general.
Yeah, and I'm like, this. Yeah. And I would be fine just saying this is out of continuity. It's a mini. Sure, whatever. It could still be enjoyable. But Superman and the Authority team is going to be in Action Comics after this arc. So, what?
I'm willing to bet there's some shenanigans that go on.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're telling me Grant Morrison might pull some shenanigans?
Yeah.
I mean,
and if this was any other writer, I would be like, I'd be dreading that. But I trust in Morrison and the multiverse.
I mean, it is entirely possible that this is just another Earth and they just visit the main Earth in Action Comics.
Because there's the way that they talk about Superman's son and his wife, and it's all stuff that's from the past, and we all know that's not like. Even in Johnson's action stuff, with the War World and all that, I mean, unless this is a post-War World Superman, and that's why, but this is not current continuity, and you can't tell me that it is. Well, it's just.
I mean, I would accept just it's in the future, and it's a possible future, like any other book that has a possible future
state.
But
it specifically says now.
Yeah,
see, that says nothing to me. The now just means now in the context of this book. I don't care about that.
Right.
But the problem is that this Superman and his team are apparently showing up in Action Comics soon, and this is definitely not. We're not going to be ready for post-War World Superman in a couple of months' time in Action Comics. We're not going to be there at that point. So,
and that's why, and I'm definitely getting Kingdom Come Superman vibes from the Superman. And it's not just the S logo or the gray on the temples. This is a Superman that is world weary and isn't, the bright shiny beacon of hope. He's kind of like, I had hope. It went bad, and now I have to team up with Manchester Black.
He's a little bit Dark Knight Returns in the sense of, where he kind of treats Manchester Black very coldly. He's just like, just
matter-of-factly
deals with him really matter-of-factly, pretty harshly at points. Causes some pain and doesn't seem to worry too much about it.
To be fair, I mean, it feels like Manchester Black is just sci-fi Constantine. You know what I mean?
Isn't he usually?
Yeah. So I get it. Superman does not gel with that guy.
Yeah, because we have the opening where the Superman's talking to JFK, and it's the 60s, and it's like right before the assassination of JFK, because it's the same month.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's November 1963 because he got shot November 22nd.
Yes.
So
and JFK's like, hey, if anything happens to me, you have to promise you're going to lead the world forward and help humanity go forward. Blah blah blah. We skip ahead to whatever this book's present day is, and it's Manchester Black. There's a SWAT team after him. And I'll give this book credit. Like I was expecting something that was going to be super wordy, and at the very least, this entire section where there's a SWAT team coming after Manchester Black is actually quite light and breezy because it's mostly just art and action.
Morrison really got out of his own way and let Yannin tell the story. So, I go hard at Morrison just because a lot of his concepts I miss with, like they're just not for me. However, he is an adept comic writer, so like of course he's not going to word up Yannin pages, you know, where you got Manchester Black jumping through windows and stuff.
Anyone who overwords Yannin pages deserves to be fired. I
mean, even I'm looking at like thinking back to the first time I saw Yannin art, and that was in Grayson. I don't think Seeley or King ever was too wordy.
They tended to, if anything, let him have a bit too much freedom and just like, hey, do double page splashes all the time.
Yeah, it was kind of underwritten at points almost, where they're like, hey, you want to see Dick doing something cool?
Yeah, pretty much.
You know, so, but no, I forget which Twitter account tweeted it, but they had pointed out that this dichotomy of Superman with Kennedy, and then what that represents when you get to the point where he talks about the later 60s, you know, when all of these political figures basically get assassinated and the whole world just it changes, and how Superman still, like, you get the vibe that he didn't give up, like he went harder, and maybe that's why he's so world weary, like, but he's still Superman, right? Like I don't get vibes like he's this dark, you know, I'm trying to think of another comparison, you know, like of a dark Superman. He's just a darker shade of gray Superman.
He's not all the way to Dark Knight Returns Superman specifically.
Well, Dark Knight Returns Superman is a government puppet, right?
Right. He's not that far gone.
No, he's not that, but he's also, you just feel like he's been active somewhere. We just don't know what he's been up to.
That's the thing. It tells me that, there's time travel stuff going on, and he spent some time in the 60s and other points in time, but came back. But it kind of just feels like he lived it.
Yeah. Yeah, and this almost feels like, removing the whole continuity piece, this almost feels like a sequel to Morrison's Action Comics, where you had Superman, like, originally that was meant to be a story out of continuity, and it was a retelling of Superman in the 30s and, you know, how all that played out. This feels like he had kept pace, and now he's in the 60s. Now he's in whatever the present day is, and you can track that character.
I can see what you're saying. So it's kind of a weird version of if his original stuff, this Superman had lived from the 30s, he would have been in his prime in the 60s.
Right.
And the older, wearier Superman now.
Right.
Okay, I can see that.
That's how I read the rest of the book. Once I got to the 68 part and the Manchester Black, and I mean, I really the only time I've ever read Manchester Black is in What's So Funny About Truth, Justice, and the American Way. You know, with him and the Elite and all of that stuff.
Isn't Manchester Black in Tomasi's?
Oh shit, he was. I forgot.
Yeah, it was.
That's the stuff. Yeah, that's the stuff that doesn't get as high praise.
Yeah, that's where we started falling off that one, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But with Manchester Black, I just, you know, he's, you know, the anti-hero that's just meant to serve as a foil for Superman. So a lot of their stuff going back and forth here, you know, like Superman fixing his spine and all of that stuff.
Yeah, so
to
explain this, Manchester Black, after he deals with the SWAT team with his powers, Superman shows up. He wakes up in the fortress, and he's rambling on about Superman having done this to him and putting him in this chair. But the chair's actually healing him after Superman's already like fused his spine back together or something like that.
He gets shot before Superman shows up. Like the bullets do go through him, so I'm assuming that's what caused the damage.
Oh yeah, sure. I wasn't fixated on what caused the damage. I just, but Superman has brought him here partly because he's thinking he's going to need some help because the Phantom Zone is about to open up. There's a bunch of criminals in the Phantom Zone who have figured out how to get through it. probably my favorite thing in the whole book is Manchester Black saying, "F that, I'm not helping you at all," and just walks out into the snow. But he gets so far away, you don't get like any speech in the bubble, but you just get the little sharp bubble that implies that he's yelling an F-bomb or something off in the distance, and you can't hear it. Obviously, he's like, "Damn it, I've got too much of a conscience. I need to go back and help with him." So that was a neat little beat. Manchester Black's kind of a weird character for me because I like him in the story with the Elite because it's kind of what what that story is for Superman and what it is about him sort of standing up for who he is and his principles. But Manchester Black as a character on his own, I don't really like that much. I've never really liked when he's popped up again, and as someone who doesn't like John Constantine really that much, the fact that I don't like Manchester Black that much, it should not come as a surprise. So
yeah, that's why I asked if that was a good take, because that's how I feel that he is, and it's not just because he's British and whatnot, but he's just kind of this guy that's just, he's chaotic neutral. He's out for himself. He's out to cause as much trouble as he can and keep his hands clean from it all. And sometimes I almost just wish it was Constantine, because I'd like to see that whole magic side with Superman versus the telekinesis, telepathy part of it. But yeah, I did like this Phantom Zone sequence though too, where the Phantom Zone criminals have co-opted these drones that were originally sent in, and there's a breach, and so Superman has to fight them, and Manchester Black comes in and tries to trick them, but because their AI, his telepathy doesn't work. I just thought that was a real good show of his character, to where that he's just used to messing with people's brains first.
And then he's like, shit, yeah, I don't want this.
Yeah, you got to do something else. So that was pretty good. And again, the art here just is doing so much work. Like, and the color here with when the Phantom Zone opens and you get all those reds.
Well, the reds.
My only problem with the colors here is Superman's suit randomly turns black.
Well, the reds also come into play earlier on with the SWAT team, so I think the red's actually a strong indicator of when Manchester Black's using his telepathy powers.
That makes sense. I didn't pick up on that.
I think it's that, and also there was there's a nice thematic crossover with the last Action Comics annual that we just had, where the Phantom Zone had turned red, and we kind of experienced it through that view.
Yeah,
so it kind of lines up nicely with that as well.
Yeah, there's some tease of a villain in Earth's orbit, who because Superman's been weakening over the years. He can barely fly anymore. He can hover. He can't really fly the way he could before. And this villain's got some kryptonite by the looks of it, some glowing green.
And he says that they've kind of misunderstood kryptonite, and he knows its true purpose. Which is interesting.
Yeah.
This has to be Lex, right?
I don't think so. I think it's.
I don't know.
It could be anybody.
He
really,
talks
though.
about his oldest enemy.
I mean, I get it.
Kryptonite.
He looks kind of like an alien to me, though.
No, I don't think so. I think he's just old.
I mean, and if my theory holds, and this is Lex from the 30s, and he's gone to space to preserve his his body or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, I could be wrong, but I'd put money on Lex right now.
Superbad shows Manchester Black. He's got the round table.
A round table.
He's got a round table. Well, no, because he mentions that he saved it from Camelot, right?
Yeah, but he mentions that there was multiple Camelots, and various Arthurs, so it's a round table in that
right,
sense.
Which again goes into the whole what we know about Morrison and the multiverse and fluidity of time and whatnot, right? So just like there's many Arthurs, there might be many Clarks.
That's true. But this is another point where in the colors I don't quite understand what's going on. Superman's suit randomly just switches panel to panel between being the kind of couple of shades of blue and just being pure black with just red. Over this page and the next couple, it just goes back and forth randomly, and I don't understand why. Like, I don't know if it's a coloring mistake or if there's a reason, and I don't know if I'm picking up on something or not.
I think it's just meant to be when we're further away from, it's just we lose detail, and they're representing that with it just being black.
But you wouldn't see that as just black when. I don't know. It just doesn't track for me. I can still see the blue on Manchester's shirt, but Superman, who's all in blue, it becomes black. That makes no sense.
I mean, I get the logic. I'm not saying it's necessarily the right choice, but I think that's just all it is. I don't think there's any more reasons for it than that.
I mean, maybe that is what it is, but if it is, I really dislike that choice.
It's not something that particularly bothered me, if I'm honest. Yeah, basically, Manchester Black's going to look out for some names, some team members, to recruit to help build the final world, and we have the ironic ending of him throwing up all over a globe, which is
Yes, because he has a pre-existing medical condition where if he doesn't consume alcohol on an hourly basis, he goes into what I'm assuming he was going to say a coma, something.
So Connor, what's that like?
I couldn't possibly say.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you know what's so weird about this is I thought this was a pretty easy read, which is not something I would often say for Grant Morrison comics in recent times. As far as the actual content goes, though, as far as what the story is so far and what it's leading to, I'm kind of like, that's okay. Like I'm not feeling in love with it. I'm not. I think the art's very good.
With the art, yeah.
Yeah, I think the art makes it feel like it's a bit more important than it actually is right now. And returning to the at one point Superman thinks about JFK again, and we get like again the sort of the shaky film strip look of like the memory of that.
Well, yeah, it's calling out to the Zapruder film, the famous.
Yeah.
So
it's the sort of book where it's fine for the story, confusing in its place and context, gorgeous art. However, if we didn't know for a fact that this team was showing up in a couple of months' time in the main book that obviously going to be reading, I don't know if I'd stick with it. But the fact that it's only 4 issues, it means I probably will.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean it's Superman, so I'm gonna stick with it. Right? So like,
Okay. I mean, yeah, I guess we're pretty much at the ratings. I don't have any like big hot takes. To be honest, it's fine. I don't. It's the most boring thing to say, but
I think had we been in a 5G world, this would have been a lot more interesting because it could have committed to its ideas.
Right. Well, and also the whole idea that the Justice League failed too. We kind of skipped over that. That are they not out there anymore? Did something happen? Like what's been going on here? Why does he need to assemble this new team?
Yeah. It's an interesting book in a place of looking at it as a glimpse into what DC Comics might have looked like in an alternate timeline, right? In a world where Didier wasn't fired, this is the current state of the DC universe.
You mean
right now?
We have a name for that. It's called the Darkest Timeline.
Yes. In the Darkest Timeline, this is what DC Comics looks like, and that is fascinating. But as a story, as its own right, as an issue, yeah, it's fine. It's hardly Morrison's best work, but Yanin turns in 25 or so great-looking pages as usual.
Yeah,
so.
it's a little oversized. Worth mentioning. It's more than 20 pages.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we can read it then. Matt, what are you giving Superman the Authority?
I'm gonna give this a 7.5.
Car?
I'm gonna give it a 6.5.
Yeah, I'm inclined to give it a 6.5. So, there you go.